This program is rated PG, parental guidance. Due to content that may not be suitable for children, parental accompaniment is advised. Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you all are now. This is Furry Voices. I'm Sri Hunter Shushni. With me is Dark Bliss.
Hi.
Today we are going to talk with content creators from Taiwan. They are Fox and Burger's podcast hosts, Matcha and Burger.
Yeah, glad to be here. Also, by the way, my name is Michael, not Matcha. I'm Michael the Matcha Fox, but people call me that as a nickname. Yeah, I didn't ask for it, but oh well.
抹茶郎.
It's starting to stick now. You're like the 10th person who said that. Even people in Taiwan call you mo cha.
Both Michael and I are not from Taiwan. We were not born here. We just ended up immigrating here.
Well, not immigrate. That kind of assumes like a longer, purpose, a longer stay at this. We're both in Taiwan.
Oh, cool. So where are you guys originally from?
We're from the States. We're both from Texas. I was not born in Texas. I believe Burger was. I was actually born and raised in Hawaii, then later moved to Texas. But we're actually both from the Dallas area. And we actually met each other in the Dallas area. Yeah.
I grew up in a smaller town in the south area of the Dallas Metroplex. It was a little town called Duncanville, and I have some great memories there. But eventually I moved up to a suburb north in a more, how do I say it, like a more rich neighborhood? I don't know. Upper middle class, not rich, upper middle class. Yeah, but we basically met each other in the Dallas area through the Brony fandom.
So you guys have been friends for like best friend or friends for a couple of years?
Yeah, I think that was like maybe 2015, 2016, maybe even like maybe 2017. But 2017 is when I left for Taiwan. So like if we met, it was probably like 2016, really.
Oh, that's cool.
We originally met 2016 or something like that. We lost contact because he went to a different university. And then we sort of like regained contact like 2020 when Burger said that he was either going to go to Taiwan or Thailand to study English.
Yeah.
And then I believe, it was like through Telegram, I believe you messaged me. And then we're just like slowly talking and then just like, just getting to know more about each other, especially because like, again, we lost contact.
Nice. I think your response earlier on, your responses can probably help your audience and our audience clarify to them that the two of you are not from Taiwan, you're based in Taiwan.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, just in case anyone may think it's something else. So first of all, Michael and Burger, how are the two of you doing?
I'm doing okay, man. My semester is almost over. I think I've got like 2 to 3 weeks left. It's a rainy day here in Taipei because we have the Meiyu, we have the plum rains, seasonal monsoons, and then most of my classes are online, so I just stayed inside for like 90% of the day, and then here I am doing the interview.
Yeah, and for me, I have to be the one teaching English online to younger kids, and if you can tell from my voice, my sinuses are congested right now. It kind of sucks that I'm a little bit sick, but at least I'm not spreading this out into the open public.
First of all, Burger, I hope you get well soon.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
because having sinus now isn't a good thing. Of course, when you have sinus, when you go out, people are just gonna be like, oh, COVID, oh shit, it's COVID.
You have to take care, man, because nowadays COVID has been spreading too much. Those who have lower chance percentage of getting COVID has already gotten COVID. So, yep. So what do you guys do? Like what?
Yeah, so what do I do? This is a great question. I wear many hats. Right now, I am a master's student here in Taiwan. I'm studying translation. That's the main reason why I can speak some Chinese. I studied history back in Texas, and I focus a lot on Chinese history. And then my professor said, like, well, if you want to get your PhD in history, then you need to study Chinese. Here's a scholarship. Apply for National Taiwan Normal University Mandarin Training Center, MTC. Like after 2 years, I came out with like some decent speaking ability. Writing was still a challenge for me. And then I came back to Texas in like 2019, and that's when I applied for my master's. On the side, I do voice acting. I've been a voice actor for about 5 years, I think. I've done voices and narrations for Squarespace, NordVPN, Indiegogo, NCH Productions. I think I'm in a couple of their videos. Not every single one, obviously. Just as a quick addendum, like Burger isn't the only one that teaches English in Taiwan, because I also teach English. I'm employed by my university as a tutor. And then I also just have like my own private students. Oh, and then of course there's the podcast, which is why I guess we're on this interview.
Right. Mhm. I am an English teacher. I teach English as a foreign language. That is what my certificate is. Originally, I was doing that in mainland China. I did that for 1 year. I was going to stay there longer, but then my VPN stopped working. So I kind of had to get out of China before I got homesick. And unintentionally, I also avoided getting COVID.
Oh.
Because the time I left mainland China, that was around August or around the summer of 2019.
这叫千钧一发.
Yeah. So anyway, I tried to look for more work in the US because I had some teaching experience. So I decided, well, I could try another country. And that was a fun experience trying to apply and qualify and interview for a job overseas when COVID comes up and sneaks up and puts everything in lockdown. I'm just glad it's over with. And it was interesting staying in a quarantine hotel. I don't want to do it again, but it was interesting.
I hope so. Like, it's a journey, man. I feel old just saying all that. I feel old, man. Yeah, I feel old. Like, it's a journey. No, it's not like I'm not in my early 20s anymore. Like when I first came to Taiwan, I was like in my mid 20s or whatever, and I was a young fox at the time. But nah, like I've gotten older. I feel it in my bones. But I hope that the explanation, hopefully that the journey will motivate other people to do something amazing as well.
All right, speaking of COVID, right? As we heard from Lightning Runner, COVID has struck you very hard. How did you manage to handle it?
Well, I would say there are two ways to think about that. First was before I came to Taiwan, and then after I came to Taiwan. So before I came to Taiwan, it was just a matter of getting all of the documents, passport scan pictures and certifications and everything sent to the right people, but without any physical touch because of COVID.
Correct.
Because the consulate for Taiwan is short-staffed due to COVID, things were a little bit slower than usual. I feel bad for the poor woman having to deal with 8 times more work than usual.
And like the date you arrive, this was when Taiwan was like very, very strict about being closed. Like very few people could get in. Was like the date that the government expects you to arrive. So you couldn't arrive like the day after, even if it was like what you're supposed to arrive at 11 p.m. and then you arrive at 1 a.m. Like they would count that as a separate date. I'm not sure if you would be let in. So I had a very similar problem, like with scheduling and everything. Like I just wanted to just get those dates down and then I would book my flight. I think you had to get the visa first before you booked your flight, though.
Well, yeah, that makes sense because you can't just get a visa inside a country before getting there. You would need some sort of landing visa or tourist visa to get in first.
That's what we did to get that entrance visa. Like you had to apply that in Texas first, but I think they said they wanted like, I'm not sure what came before the other because we don't have to get into this, but I'm just trying to say like I think we had to get the entrance visa first before we could buy the flight ticket.
Mm-hmm. And the other trouble I had before getting to Taiwan was that my flight involved me staying overnight in Japan. And according to Japan, at the time, they were not allowing people to stay overnight or staying too long. I essentially lost my flight and had to get another one at the airport the day of my flight.
Oh my god, is there any refund? Did they change or anything?
Luckily, I got a rebate from the flight that couldn't be completed due to COVID. But I did get another flight, thankfully, the day of. Except it made me go through LAX. I hate LAX so much.
Mine was also through Nagoya, I think. It's the one in Tokyo Narita?
Yes.
Yeah, at
Yeah.
that time you could not stay overnight. You couldn't stay over for a layover. And the same thing happened to me. I didn't get a rebate. I actually just got an entirely new flight free of charge. But yeah, I went through LAX. I paid for like an $11 sandwich, like a 10 something dollar sandwich with like chocolate milk for like 13 USD, which is insane. That's the California tax for you. And then made my way to Taiwan, and it was a direct flight from LA to Taiwan.
Wow. You were more speedy than I was. I had to go through South Korea to get to Taiwan. But that was okay because the South Korean airport, the one in Incheon, is fabulous. They had what was called a traveler's lounge. In that lounge, there was a nap zone. And you can nap there for longer than what someone would reasonably think of as a nap. So I got to nap for 8 hours during my flyover overnight in South Korea.
Oh, that's nice. And that's free for everyone. That's not like a tier, right?
Yeah, and the prices were not bad either. I could get a nice bowl of noodles or something for like $7 or $8 US. Much better than LAX. But then after COVID, the only issue there, after getting out of the quarantine hotel, was just having to wear a mask everywhere, making sure you didn't have a fever, you were staying clean, and not going to too many places where there would be a large group of people gathering.
Yeah, because at that time in Taiwan, wearing masks was actually optional. I remember in 2020, yeah, like Taiwan handled it so well that you did not have to wear a mask while going outside. The only exception is public transit. I can't believe I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then it went all great until the second wave in 2021.
It's true, when Singapore had our circuit breaker, where we had that for months, you do not need lockdowns, you do not need any mass control, whatever, but you just immediately shut your borders and kept everything going.
Google it. Google Taiwan's response to COVID. Like if you find it on Wikipedia, like you'll see like how good the numbers were. So yeah.
If I check GFTV First's data right now, if I look in, especially in that time, like how many furry conventions actually held that time, that year, 2020?
I don't know, like 3 or 4. Wasn't JMOF held in 2020?
Yeah, there was JMOF.
They delayed their convention 2 years ahead. So their next edition was 6th of 9 Jan 2022, which was held.
Yeah, that is correct. I remember that.
Furry Joa, Furry Meet. Most furry conventions in America completed their things, but more virtual than physical.
Yeah.
So speaking of furry conventions, you talk about guest of honors, experiencing fun, dealer stands, performances, panels, games, meetups, meals, room parties,
Amen.
all of that.
Yeah.
And guest of honors seem to be a big deal. Just about every furry convention, like, what's the big deal with it? Just someone going there. What is the value? Even if they are at a furry convention, they represent the fandom in a way. Ambassadors. The two of you are ambassadors yourself because you are one of the guests of honors of PAWAI this year.
Yeah.
That is correct.
As guest of honors, though, first up, is this your first time?
Yeah, it is definitely my first time.
Yeah, me too. Definitely the first.
How does it feel like being a guest of honor?
I want to say that, yeah, it really is an honor. I remember getting like a text from Jiros, like March or something like that. And then I was like, oh man, did I get in trouble? It says like, how would you like to be one of our guests of honor? I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I can't believe it. And I think I jumped for joy. I was like, yeah, I can't believe I got picked. So that made me very happy. And then the second thing I want to say, then I'll hand it over to Burger. The second thing I want to say is that, you know, this is a team effort, right? Like Foxenberg Productions is a team effort. It's a collaboration. And, you know, I wouldn't be here without Burger. And I would even go so far as to say that none of us would be here without each other.
Yeah, that would be the best way to say it. Neither of us would be here without each other. I have been the one dealing with the more technical stuff, like editing the audio, editing it to video, and making it YouTube presentable, as well as having separate audio versions for like Spotify and whatever other services we upload to. Michael has been the one who's been doing most of the networking, We both brainstorm and discuss a lot about certain things for the podcast. And we've gotten help outside from people that we trust as well. But I think he's been the bigger brains for the podcast.
I do like the logistics stuff, like how do we organize these interviews? How do we structure them? Networking, frontman, like social media managers. So like I write like 99% of the posts on the Twitter. I think I've been like the main manager on the YouTube, but there's not much to manage there. Like I look at the comments, I sometimes respond to them, and I'm always like looking out for guests, and I'm always like trying to network. Yeah.
We really feed off of each other and really work together very well. The fact that we both got picked to be guests of honor was like that little fluttering in my heart, that small. It was just so big. It's like, oh gosh, I think we've done it. I think we made it now. We're now guests of honor, you know? I feel like after this, we're going to have a great boost and more people are going to know about the eastern side of the furry fandom, which is always good.
Perseverance is a very powerful thing. I don't think even ourselves may be able to grasp it completely. Your eyes, whether Asian eyes or not, you still can see the lesson to be learned out of it. It's full of passion, dedication, and also a heart to serve your community kind of thing.
I think community comes first for us. I feel like it's the podcast was never really about us. I think we're just like the mouthpiece in a way. I think we're just the medium. It's us capturing those moments, those stories, those experiences, and then we just show it to other people. I feel like it always starts with the guest first. It never was about us.
Yeah, that's why we bring such interesting guests as well. We bring fursuiters from Malaysia and Indonesia, with convention organizers from Japan and other places, and then we bring in just anyone who has made a big difference in the Asian community.
It's one big way that the two of you are really doing it, because a lot of Americans or Western furries, they still have a lot of questions about Asian furry fandom. I have talked to a lot of Americans. There are furry conventions in China. Furries exist in China and they can move freely. They had a lot of questions. They thought China didn't have any furries. Zero, as they thought.
Yeah, I mean, the reason for that is just from how blocked off the Chinese public is from the rest of the world through the government firewall. I never got to meet the Chinese furry fandom until I actually went to China to teach English. It wasn't as full of an experience as it was when I was in Taiwan, because when I was in mainland China, my Chinese was way worse than it is now. But I still feel like because Taiwan has a greater access to the internet than mainland China, then I guess their presence is more known to the world.
I really testify to the kind of things that the two of you mentioned. For me, when I connected to China, it actually surprised me. They know a lot about furries outside. I found a lot of furries was working to translate external content and put it into Chinese platforms. As GFTV grew and we got more popular, I started to realize we became one of that platform to bring foreign content into China. Furries are one community. There are places where they are not that connected. So for us content creators, we sort of have a duty to connect Chinese furries to the global one.
I think your media production and our content is I think this is where we have like the exact same overlap, where like we view ourselves as a bridge. Like Fox and Burgers Productions is more like a bridge, bridging East and West. That's really our main goal, right? Like we want to show the Western world like what there has to offer in Asia. And so like, I would say you and I are doing, roughly the same thing.
That's kind of how I felt when I helped convince Michael to bring in some mainland Chinese furries onto the podcast as well. Like we've had Simone, Layola, and his girlfriend. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name right now.
Yuho, I believe.
Yeah, Yuho.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think if I hadn't done that, mainland Chinese furries would still be kind of a mystery to the rest of the world. I mean, I'm not sure how many people in the West have seen our videos on the mainland Chinese furries, but hopefully we've helped give some insight.
I think we've shown another point. Building bridges is not political. No matter how much the firewall may be closely associated with politics and whatever the China versus US thing now, it's not political to build bridges. Encourage dialogue. We share ideas. Right. We understand each other. that advances civilization. In the end, no matter how much we don't want to talk with each other because of some preconceived notions, we still have to talk in the end. And building bridges is one way to open doors, people to start doing that. Courage. And being guest of honor is something like you have to represent the fandom. In a way, you're contributing to the furry fandom. Your opinions, all guest of honors important for furry communities.
I think the idea of GOHs, it's important, but probably not important as you think, because I think it's nice that you get the recognition, and I think it's nice that you are honored for your contribution to the fandom. But at the end of the day, like, I'm still a human being. Like, I eat, poop, and sleep. I don't think that has ever changed ever since, it was announced that we became GOHs. I do think that, yeah, you, in a sense, you do represent the fandom. I don't think, like, just because you're elevated to GOH, it doesn't make you that different or that important from the other people out there.
Yeah, I think the GOHs and the artists and musicians and whatever was someone or some group that the people running an event decided would be the best people to represent the furry fandom at that event. Well, it doesn't mean they're like superhuman. It just means they really stand out and they're someone to aspire to. And having someone to aspire to definitely brings in a lot more sorts of good things to help drive the community forward in one way or another.
Yeah, if you're a GOH, you probably have your own GOH panel, or you can talk about your journey and the things you do, and maybe that inspires other people. So yeah, there's also that.
That's some insight. Being guest of honors is like you are honored, but that doesn't make you suddenly become King Bumibo or Duya Day. I guess it's about showing maybe these are role models.
Yeah, I think respect is earned. Respect is earned. I think people like honor you, right? You can't like buy this kind of thing. If you chase clout, you chase these kinds of things, you'll never achieve it.
Yeah, because a lot of people associate being a guest of honor with clout, something to get popular very fast. Only.
Yeah, that's why I bring up inspiration. Exactly.
In the end, you're still furries. We are still one community. With all the influence that you got, the followers, it's not yours. It's something like, let me quote, who's the name of the guy who owns Alibaba? Ma Yun?
Ma, yeah, well, in English we'll call him Jack Ma, right? Yeah, like Ma Yun in Chinese.
I'm gonna quote him. If you earn $1 million, that $1 million is not yours. It's the amount of money that society entrusts in you to do something to better the society.
It's relatable. And talking about Eastern and Western though, the two of you are this bridge, as I've mentioned earlier. So Bliss, I think, has something to ask you about that.
Yes. What are the similarities or the differences between the two?
Yeah, like the difference between the Eastern and Western furry fandoms, as according to the two of you.
This is a great question, and such a big question. Like, Burger, do you want to take this first? Because I actually feel like I still have to think.
There are different concepts of what furry is, depending on where you go. This is what I said to Chiros for PAWAI as well. I basically told him, in the Western furry fandom, furry, it is a way to take out whatever is inside your heart and then just ripping it out and showing people.
Watch the podcast.
In the Eastern furry fandom, it's more like, I want to put on a character, I want to be something different than what I am. Part of that can be self-expression, but for the most part, it's just, this is my character, or this is my child. And sometimes even there will be an artist that just have a preset character, and then someone will bid on those characters, and the final winner of that bid, that is their character now. Now, I'm not saying the Western fandom is only about self-expression, and the Eastern fandom is only about putting on a character. There are different scales for both.
I'm actually kind of surprised by the similarities in the fandoms. If you say everyone is the same, then I feel like that doesn't speak enough to the uniqueness of that person or that culture. I've come across several Taiwanese, Japanese furs, and I always feel like in these cultures, there is a culture of indirectness. I feel like there's like this extra layer of this sort of like indirect speech from their source culture. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's something that's really different from where I grew up, which is the idea of being direct, quote unquote, like honest, say how you feel.
You really remind me of, yes, that Japanese furry infographic, the persona difference. The persona in Western fandoms is part of themselves or is themselves. In the Eastern side, especially in the kimono area, it's a separate entity. I guess maybe, for example, your soulmate. I don't know, like you watch those cartoons where this character is always following the protagonist.
Yeah, have you seen that?
So, linking from this insight, thanks for your insights. I believe it really helps the audiences understand the Asian fandom.
The podcast has been going on, believe it or not, for like a year and a half. So closing on 2 years. It's still a question we're asking, you know, like feel like there's still plenty of people to interview. There's still plenty of people to know. I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of the question, but I think it's worth asking and worth exploring. Yeah.
Alright. I think overall for like there is like this East and West divide in the world today. So from that, how do you feel your furry community can better move forward?
Yeah, I think there is an East and West divide. I think Posri probably talked about like U.S. and China relations, but I don't think that this divide is actually as big or as antagonizing as you're led to believe. I think cultural differences are a thing. Different political factions are a thing. I think language barriers are a thing, but I also believe that we live in a very globalized and interconnected world. There's more to explore by being connected and friendly rather than being antagonistic. I feel that most of the furries I talk to and befriend they're relatively apolitical, or they know better than to like engage in politics. We don't talk about this divide, and we all kind of just get along, I feel.
I think you bring up a decent point about, I think ever since the internet kind of sprung open and to the greater public, it's just given people more and more insight about the world around them. I mean, in a way, with the furry fandom being a reflection of the greater human populace, those open arms are just always there.
Yeah, honestly, thank you all so much. I think this whole interview is a big learning point for us. It's amazing to hear from you, Burger and Michael.
Yes, sir.
Such a pleasure to talk with two people who are also making an effort to build bridges here in Asia and with the world as well.
Yeah, if we ever see you like next year actually in person, like if that actually does work out, I mean, we can hang out and chat. I want a kopi si and teta.
Yeah, I wish you all good luck with your podcast. I wish you all stay safe, stay healthy.
Yeah, same to you, man. Same to you.
Check out Fox and Burger on Twitter. We are on Spotify and Google Podcast. We are Fox and Burger Productions on YouTube, so check that out as well. Fox and Burger on Twitch.
And well, that officially concludes our latest installment of Furry Voices with Fox and Burger podcast hosts Michael and Burger. Have a great and wonderful fluffy day.
Thank you guys for listening.